this schedule really shapes up for a playoff run with a 12-team playoff.
Areas that, you need to get from experience, which is just, hey, I need to make quicker decisions.
How do you define success for this team?
National championship.
What's going on, y'all? Welcome back into the Cover 3 College Football Podcast. I'm Bud Elliott, and this is my summer school series where we try to tackle as many college football teams as we possibly can in May and June. And today, it's a big one, Illinois. Welcome to my man, Jeremy Werner from Illini Inquirer. Say that 6 times fast. A little too much caffeine here. We're ripping through these at a record pace. How you been, man?
Good. You're talking about excitement. There is some excitement in Champaign about Illinois football. We did this last year, and obviously there was a disappointing 5-7 year, but come off a 10-win year, 2 8-win seasons, 8+ win seasons the last 3 years. Illinois football actually causing some excitement here in Champaign for once.
It was so fun. I took my 3-year-old to the bowl game. He had just turned 3. I was like, man, he's a young 3. Like, I don't know if he's gonna be able to last. He lasted like the whole game, and like the we were on the Illinois side, and like their whole sideline was just first class, man. Like the cheerleaders were giving him signs, he's holding them up and stuff, and it was he just had a blast. He stayed for the whole thing, which was a hell of a game, by the way. Like that was a really, really good bowl game. It
was really one of the biggest and most impressive bowl games. They actually had the Pop-Tart Bowl was there a couple of days prior, and so they had 2 phenomenal bowl games. But for Illinois, it was massive. But I mean, everyone that gets left out of the college football playoff feels like it's a consolation prize now since there's 12 teams. Illinois was really happy to be where they were. And to win that game, listen, I think you trade places with Indiana anytime. A college football playoff appearance is awesome. But that bowl win, for number one, it was their first win ever against an SEC opponent. I think they've only played 6 or 7 in their lifetime. But still, to beat a South Carolina team that everyone said was probably the best team left out of the playoff, and to do it without their star receiver, Pat Bryant, who was a 3rd-round draft pick, was really, really impressive because Illinois won in the trenches in that game, and their quarterback played pretty well. Lenore Sellers, they were able to bottle him up. So that was huge because 10-win seasons don't happen that often in Illinois. So to get a 10th win against that team, an SEC opponent, it's just the 5th 10-win season in Illinois history. The first SEC opponent win, as I said. There are 4 8+ win seasons this century, Bud, and 2 of them have come in the last 3 years under Brett Bielema. So he's 18-18 in the Big Ten, right? That's a middling record. But for Illinois to have that season off 2 years ago, having an 8-win season, having NFL draft picks like they have, it's a huge step forward because even though he's a 500 record, Brett Bielema's 4 predecessors, Ron Zook, Lovie Smith, Tim Beckman, Bill Cubit, they had a .257 win percentage in the Big Ten. So this is finally a Big Ten team that's not only competitive, but is finding ways to have success. So that bowl win meant a lot for this program and kind of leads into why there's so much excitement about this team because 18 of the starters in that game on offense and defense are back for Illinois, which is obviously very rare in this day and age.
And to accomplish that with the league expanding, adding some serious blue blood teams, and doing away with divisions is all the more impressive. Let's talk about that offense. So Barry Lundy Jr. comes back as OC. I think that's, I mean, at least in my opinion, pretty big for them. Altmaier's back as well. It's kind of nice to have one of those. What is he? 23 years old now? Is he? He's 24. He's got to be up there, right?
Yeah, 23. He's a 5th-year player. The retention of the coaching staff shouldn't go overlooked either. I mean, that's hard to do, especially when you're a program like Illinois and you kind of have these breakthrough seasons. The hard part sometimes is keeping those assistant coaches and coordinators especially, but this will be the 4th year of Barry Lundy, and it'll be the 3rd year of Luke Altmaier as a starting quarterback, which I don't know. I haven't done the research how many programs have a 3rd-year starting quarterback, but it's absolutely massive. And for a program like Illinois, the 5-6 years prior to Brett Bielema, only Rutgers had a worse quarterback situation in the Power 5. So to get Luke Altmaier here, Tommy DeVito had a really good season before he's made it to the NFL. He's the first quarterback to play in the NFL for Illinois, to play a snap in a regular season game since Kurt Kittner back in 2023. So they have just brought this offense into the 21st century. And you think of Brett Bielema, you think of ground and pound. That's not what they are. This is a modern, versatile offense. Run a lot of 12 personnel. They throw the ball really well. That has been the strength of this team the last couple of years. But they did run the ball well late in the season with Aiden Lawfrey. Josh McCray is one of their biggest losses. He transferred to Georgia. But Luke Altmaier not only comes back, but for their all 5 starting offensive linemen from the last 8 games return, including J.C. Davis, who's one of the best left tackles in the Big Ten. I think he's one of the 2 all Big Ten tackles returning. Melvin Priestley is a potential NFL guard. He plays tackle for Illinois, but they got 5 starters returning there. They get their running backs back outside of McCray, their tight ends back, but they do lose Pat Bryant, right? Like he was an NFL wide receiver. Zachary Franklin, 1 year tour here, but he was really, really solid for them. So they have to kind of make up some ground at wide receiver, but to have your quarterback back, to have 2 of your top running backs back and Aiden Lawfrey and Caden Fagan, and to get all your offensive linemen back is massive for this team that I think, Bud, they're going to run the ball better this year. The question mark is with their new receivers they're bringing in, Hudson Clement from West Virginia, Justin Bullock from Ball State, guys who return, Hank Beatty, Malik Elzy, a former 4-star prospect. Is he ready to be a number 1 wideout? That's the question. But when you return offensive lineman and quarterback, I think they feel pretty good.
So if there is a guy who emerges as like a gotta-have fantasy receiver on this offense, who is it, or who has the best chance to be that guy?
I think the highest floor is Hudson Clement. He's the number 1 wide receiver at West Virginia for a Power 4 team, former walk-on wide receiver, a West Virginia kid. But he didn't play a ton in the spring, had a little bit of an injury, but he's still getting used to this offense. But he is the guy that is proven. I think Luke Altmaier will have the trust in. They just got to gain that chemistry as they go through this. But he's the one guy who's proven he can do it as a number 1 wideout for a team that if the quarterback throws it up for him, he can go get it. He's kind of an interesting mix of Pat Bryant in that he can be a deep ball threat, but he's also a little bit like Zachary Franklin, that he can be that intermediate guy, run crisp routes. So I don't think he's going to be Pat Bryant, but I do think he's going to get a lot of targets thrown his way. The X factor here is Malik Elzy because he's 6'2", 215 pounds, big, physical. He's going to be on the field because he can block, but can he show the consistent hands that he needs to gain the trust of Luke Altmaier? But if there's a guy on paper that you feel can be the blocker, can be the physical presence to open up the run game, which they love, but also be the downfield, go up and get the ball in the red zone, Malik Elzy would be that. But they brought in competition in Justin Bullock, who is 6'5", 220 pounds, had 2 150-yard games for Ball State last year. So he's an intriguing guy. But don't overlook the slot position. Isaiah Williams was an all Big Ten wide receiver, and he had 2,000 receiving yards across 2 years. The slot didn't get as much work last year, but Colin Dixon is a really interesting player at 6'1". He's about 210. He's more like a kind of a running back body where he can really get the ball and make plays in space. He gives them kind of a power slot who can block really well. But Hank Beatty's kind of your typical slot receiver where undersized, kind of a scatty guy that can make plays in the open field, but really trustworthy hands. I think they're going to target that slot a little bit more than they did last year. So wouldn't be surprised if you see some more bunch formations to kind of get those guys involved rather than Pat Bryant just being on the outside and finding a way to win his battle.
So you mentioned the offensive line should take a step forward as long as they can stay healthy, pave the way for some big time running back season. Who's the guy running back now that Josh is gone? Like, is there a guy who you just really trust to be the dude and take the load?
They are if they're healthy. Like Aiden Lawfrey and Caden Fagan are a great combination if healthy. But that has been a huge question mark about both these guys. Caden Fagan has beaten out Josh McCray the last 2 years for the number 1 job. He's just had a season-ending injury each of the last 2 years. Had a shoulder injury after he was really making a run to be the Big Ten Freshman of the Year, but missed the last 3 games. Could have really given, I think, Darius Taylor won the job that year or won the award that year. And then last year, he was really coming into his own, had a good game against Penn State. And then during an off week, had a kind of freak hip injury, which concerns you when you're talking about running backs. But he's 6'3", 250 pounds, a former 4-star player. He might be more of a 4'6" guy in the 40, but at 6'3", 250 pounds, that's pretty dang fast for that. Big, physical. And he really needs to take a step forward with his vision, but he started to do that right before the injury. So he's got a high potential. It's just he's had so many injuries the last 3 years, even dating back to high school. It's just, can he stay healthy for an entire season? Then Aiden Lawfrey's the other one who really finished the season strong, had a 170-yard, 3-touchdown game against Northwestern at Wrigley Field that kind of blew open the game. And he's really the speed threat. So you got this big thunder with Caden Fagan, though he's got a little bit of elusiveness to him. But then you got speed threat, breakaway threat, and Aiden Lawfrey, who's kind of a track star in high school. Those guys fit each other really well. Can they stay healthy through an entire year? That's where Josh McCray's departure for Georgia really hurts. Plus, he just kind of had the best vision, probably was the best blocker of those guys. So he's definitely a 3-down back. But another guy to know is Khalil Valentine, former 4-star prospect out of Arizona. They beat out Utah for him, who's obviously Utah's had a pretty good running game there. But he's a quick guy, can really make you miss in a phone booth. So he's the guy that if one of those top two, Aiden Lawfrey or Caden Fagan gets hurt, that Khalil Valentine could get a lot of opportunity. And he got some opportunity last year. He's just got to add some strength and do a little bit more between the tackles and in the blocking game.
All right, now let's hit a break. On the flip side, we'll talk a little Illini defense.
When you need your sports news all the time,
we've got breaking news to bring to you.
CBS Sports HQ gives you a snapshot of all the sports that matter to you. When you need your sports in a snap, find it on CBS Sports HQ, streaming free anywhere you are.
All right, guys, welcome back into the Cover 3 College Ball Podcast here on the Summer School Series. That's my man, Jeremy Werner of Illini Inquirer. We are talking Illinois' defense here. Aaron Henry quietly built pretty strong defensive identity for this team, right? I mean, gave Jackus back, secondaries mostly intact. Is this group being underrated? Could this group be better than the offense this year?
Well, Aaron Henry entered last year kind of in a prove-it stage. His first year as defense coordinator, replacing Ryan Walters after Walters got hired at Purdue. Obviously didn't go well there, but it did not go well for Illinois his first season. Their defense took a huge step back. You knew it was going to take a step back after you used Devin Witherspoon, Quan Martin, Sidney Brown to the NFL, but it just looked incompetent at times. Like he's got outclassed at times by some opposing offensive coordinators, including Andy Kotelnicki when he was at Kansas, really took advantage of him. But Aaron Henry showed a lot of improvement last year, just showing some different sub packages, using his players in really interesting ways. But they really bottled up some of the best quarterbacks on their schedule. Like Drew Aller didn't have a great game against them. Lenora Sellers in the bowl game, they were not very explosive, kept him in the pocket. Jalen Daniels at Kansas, really able to keep him in the pocket. So it wasn't the most big physical group up front. I thought they were really sound. They're really good game plans that kind of kept Illinois in games. And that's what Aaron Henry told me he learned is I didn't have to be the 2022 defense to shut everybody out. I just had to keep our offense in the game. And that worked out well because Luke Altmaier was one of the clutchest quarterbacks. Wide receiver Pat Bryant was one of the clutchest wide receivers. And they won a lot of close games in part because their defense kept them in it. So I think he answered a lot of questions as a play caller and coordinator and schemer, but also he's got a lot of talent coming back, bud. Like I think the defense is more talented, especially with Gabe Akis, who some are projecting could be a first or second round pick next year. Xavier Scott could have gone in the draft this year and been drafted in the middle rounds. He's their nickel corner. That's probably their next in line of being drafted pretty highly into the NFL. And then another name people got to know is Matthew Bailey, their safety, who missed most of the 23 season, who they thought was going to be a key part of their defense after Sidney Brown left. He came back, played the most snaps he'd ever played, had some ups and downs early in the season. He played like an absolute star late in the year. He's about 6'2", 210 pounds, really versatile player, can play in the box, cover tight ends, which is really important in the Big Ten. So he's a guy that could really take a significant step forward. But they returned basically all of their back seven. Which is huge, but they do have to replace several defensive linemen up front. Dennis Briggs and T-Raw Edwards, really solid starters for them. They're off to the NFL. And then Seth Coleman as well, their outside linebacker, been a 3-year starter. But they went in the portal. They stole 2 starters from Wisconsin, James Thompson and Kurt Neal, and Leon Lowry. So 3 starters from Wisconsin that they think could be impactful. They think James Thompson, who missed all of last year with a pec injury.
The pec guy, yeah. Okay, sorry.
Yeah, he was an NFL draft kind of prospect going into last year. He's 6'5", 300 pounds. They haven't had a true NFL 5 technique of that size. Like Keith Randolph was a really good player. Dennis Briggs was a good player. The length and I guess athleticism and quick twitchiness that he has. Brett Bielema had him as their number 1 target of the offseason. They went and got him. So they lost a lot up front, but they also gained a lot. And they feel like their defensive line is going to be deeper. Their depth is a little bit more experienced. So they did fill their needs, but most importantly, Akis, Scott, Bailey are potential stars that are all returning that I think could be all Big Ten guys. So to answer your question a long-winded way, but everyone will talk about Luke Altmaier and the offense. I think the defense has the chance to really take a step forward and be what makes this team potentially the college football playoff dark horse, because if the defense can assert itself early, be better at stopping the run, continue to take the ball away, I think that combined with a slightly better run game could help Illinois play from ahead a little bit more, because they didn't come back and win a lot of games last year with the passing game. I think the defense and run game could be the steps forward for this team.
Jeremy, when I look at the quarterbacks this team plays, I'm not so sure that Altmaier isn't like first, second, or third if you were to kind of stack up Illinois plus the 12 teams on the schedule. You don't see Drew Aller. You don't see we don't know what Dante Moore will be, right? There's no Nico at UCLA, depending on what you think of him. But like I don't think Wisconsin really scares you quarterback wise that much. Maybe Billy Edwards will be awesome, but awesome might be a stretch, right? Iowa's kind of celebrating a return to competency at the position they hope,
right,
but maybe not a stud. We'll see. Childs could be really good at Michigan State, or he could just kind of be what he was, last year. This schedule does set up for a very nice run for Illinois. There's some tricky spots, but like, how do you define success for this team in 25?
Well, but everyone will tell you around Illinois, they're shooting for college football playoff. They think they're capable of that. I know a lot of people are saying they could be this year's Indiana. All respect to Indiana. I mean, that is not easy to win 11 games in the Big Ten, no matter what your schedule is, right? Like they had an unbelievable year, but they were coming from 3-9, which is with a completely new roster. Like Illinois is returning most of a roster that won 10 games. So I know everyone's looking for kind of that dark horse, and I believe Illinois can be that based on what they return and what they have. But this is a team that's got a target on its back. Like Illinois is not sneaking up on anybody anymore. So last year, the games that set the tone were beating Kansas at home, a ranked Kansas team at the time that had a great year the year before, and then going on the road Friday night, beating Nebraska on their 400th consecutive to start the season 4-0. Then we knew this team was for real. I think this schedule sets up similarly because they have Western Illinois bye game, beat the heck out of them. They'll win that one. Then they go to Duke. Duke won 9 games last year. They get Mensa at quarterback from Tulane. That is a huge road game. That is a hard task on the road. Western Michigan at home, you should beat that. Illinois should beat MAC teams now, even if they're good MAC teams. Then you go on the road at Indiana, a team that has a good quarterback in Mendoza, but is a completely new team again. But you're on the road for your Big Ten opener. I think we're going to know what this team is by that point. And then you have USC at home, a homecoming game. I personally think Illinois should be favored in that game if they take care of business against Duke or Indiana. But then you got Purdue at home. You should beat Purdue. Ohio State comes into town. If Illinois can be 5-1 or 6-0 going into that game, they will have all the buzz. That could be the big noon kickoff. That could be a college game day. Illinois has never had college game day. But if you can get through that Ohio State game with 5 wins or 6 wins, Bud, they have a lot of opportunity, and they should be talked about at that point like a college football playoff contender, because they have Rutgers and Maryland at home, at Wisconsin, and I don't know what is going on there, but they've had a lot of turnover for a coach in his third year, and then Northwestern. Like that last 5-game stretch at Washington starts it off. That's a tough game. Ryan Walters is on that staff, and Illinois is not favored well against them. But if they can get through that Ohio State game and have 2 off weeks after that with 5 games remaining, then Illinois really has a chance. But I think that's why that Duke and Indiana, those first 2 road games, I think that's going to tell us a lot about this team.
Jeremy, really enjoy this, man. I always like following your coverage. You guys do such a great job for us. And be sure to tell Tom hello as well. I know he's excited to watch this episode. It's been fun, man.
Appreciate it. Yeah, I know everyone wants to get to college football playoff for Illinois. Illinois hasn't won 8+ games in back-to-back years since, I think, 1990. So if they do that, that's a pretty successful season for Illinois in my book, but I get it. They should be excited about this team, and it sets up for an exciting year. The problem is every time Illinois has kind of gone into an exciting year, they've had a backtrack to 5 wins and not make a bowl game. This team will make a bowl game. I have no doubt about that. But it's hard to win 10+ games in the Big Ten, but Brett Bielema has people believing, and they have reason to believe, bud.
No doubt. Enjoyed it, buddy. Thank you.